What is up, everybody? Tubo vs. TV today, and I just got finished watching Horizon Zero Dawn gameplay trailer. The footage, like around 20 minutes of footage, it looks phenomenal. I must say the graphics are definitely visually stunning and visually impressive. The gameplay looks phenomenal. I saw her fighting this humongous mammoth. That was a cool boss fight. You saw her transversing throughout the different area, the lush environments, the underwater levels. It looks pretty cool. The game looks pretty great. It's like a day one buy for me. But the big problem a lot of people have, and I have myself, is that this game might be 30 frames per second, 30 frames per second, and we're in the current generation of PS5 and Xbox Series X, and it's like we're still doing 30 frames per second with these big AAA games like this. I thought that was a last generation thing that we just see last generation and be done with that, but we're still in it. It hasn't been confirmed. Sony hasn't confirmed anything. It's just people making speculations off the trailer, of the footage. No, I keep saying trailer, but the footage is 30 frames per second. So we don't really know. We have no idea. This 30 frames per second was actually trending on Twitter yesterday. I think it still is today, but it was actually trending because of this. Because like, it is kind of wild. We're still doing 30 frames per second. Either way, I'm gonna play the game day one. The game looks phenomenal. We went through a whole generation playing 30 frames per second, so I think we can do a few more games with 30 FPS. But hopefully, this game has performance mode. If it is 30 frames per second, they have performance mode with like 1440p, 60 frames, or hopefully it's just that. But yeah, so one of my subscribers, I guess he sent me something saying, "Why don't you talk about these Xbox guys freaking out?" And it's like I can't. I mean, I read this thing where these guys apparently are freaking out. Xbox having meltdowns. And this guy says, Horizon Forbidden West looks utterly incredible. Play Hive Buses on Series X. It looks just as good, if not better than that. LOL, I'm watching it back in 4K now, and I'm just saying it looks just as good as Hive Busters. I haven't played Gears 5 Hive Busters. I haven't played that DLC, so I can't talk about that really. I have no idea. That game is actually in my queue to play because I got a huge backlog of games, but I haven't played Gears 5 Hive Busters. I can't tell how visually stunning that game looks. So I can't tell if that's a huge stretch or not. I can't honestly talk about that. That's why I didn't make a video about any of this stuff. I'm gonna talk about it briefly in this video though. So this guy wrote, so a few takeaways on Horizon. You might get triggered, looks fantastic. Was expecting it to be taken back though. A 30 frames per second is a major bummer. Yes, you can have performance mode, but not the same as starting at 60 frames per second like Gears did. No date is telling. Release dates are hard to come right now. So is it really a meltdown? He's saying the game looks fantastic, but if it's 30 frames per second, it's a bummer. It's like I don't see that being a meltdown really. So like if you want to send me stuff on Twitter, it's like make us that's like actually like somebody's having a meltdown. Like these Sony guys, they have a really legit like meltdowns every day, like attacking a journalist because he doesn't like because he likes the Xbox more. That's still a meltdown. Somebody says Sony is making him a prisoner. That's a meltdown. Somebody says something looks it does someone when someone says something looks the visual looks horrible and they look exactly the same like their Unreal Engine thing. Those are meltdowns, but this isn't really a meltdown. Like they're saying the game looks amazing. They just bummed out those 30 frames per second. I don't know if they really count it as a meltdown really. So yeah, but back with this one. This was the original post I wanted to talk about. So he says, so they just made us wait 5 hours to reveal a 30 frames per second 1080p gameplay demo of Horizon Zero Dawn. Yet another $70 over the shoulder third person cinematic 30 FPS game. It will be a great addition to the PlayStation exclusive library. And he says 30 frames per second, what the off? Yeah, so this guy, I think he's kind of trolling because I don't think it's 1080p. Like that's why I want to wait for Sony to officially confirm it. I don't think it's 1080p. I think it's probably like 4K 30 frames per second, and probably performance mode will be 40p 60 frames per second. 1080p is that's insane. 1080p for a PS5 game, that's pretty crazy. $70. This would be the first game I'll spend $70 on. Is this game right here? I'll probably wait for Ratchet to go down in price. To be honest, I'm probably gonna spend $70 for this game right here. Like I said, 30 frames per second is still a bummer. I kind of wish it was 60. A lot of people were defending the 30 frames per second though, if that is true. I've seen a lot of people defending that though, but yeah. We're in the next generation, guys. So games should be 60 frames and higher. We literally have Microsoft making games 120 frames per second and higher on their platform. So it's like, we got to get away from the 30 frames per second, guys. Just got to do that. So he said, LOL, dude being salty AF about Horizon Forbidden West. To be fair, I told everyone well in advance that I'd be trolling this state of play. I was waiting for damage controlling from you. Remember 30 frames per second as the future? Like that is pretty wild that these games are still 30 frames per second. Like bro, a good game is a good game, even if I didn't show high busters this bad, lol. You saying third person as if if it's a thing? Not everyone are into first person games, especially first person shooters. Okay. Don't worry, guys. We have a next gen console. It is advertised as next gen with 100 frames per second, but we would give you a 30 frames per second game, and you guys would eat it up with only a few people crying on Twitter, but everybody would buy it anyway and love us, Sony. Yo, this game looks phenomenal. If it truly is 30 frames per second, that sucks. Honestly, that truly sucks. But I gotta play this game. This game looks phenomenal. I love the first game, and I want to play this one just as bad as the first one. As much as I love the first one, I got to play this one too. So negative. LOL. No one with a PS5 who has a brain cell would accept playing a game like this at 30 frames per second. LOL. They have up games like Game of what is GOT? Am I drawing a blank? What is that? I don't think it was Game of Thrones. And you just about what is GOT? Granted, I'm drawing a blank what GOT is. To 60 frames per second. Ghost of Tsushima. Oh, wow. Okay, Ghost of Tsushima. That's what he's referring to. To 60 frames per second, and it's immaculate. Even on last gen, LOL, no chance in hell this would be 60 frames per second at least, and I'll bet all my gaming S on it. Yeah, hopefully this will be 60 frames because I'm not playing at 30. If they have performance mode, I'm going to choose a performance mode over 30. Dude, I hope this is a troll. I would play this even at 15 frames per second. Dude, stop it. If this is 15 frames per second, nobody is playing this game. That's pushing it, LOL, but I get the point. Not every game needs 60, but it sure helps. A game rated at 60 or 120 always feels much smoother to play. Now, at the very least, we should demand some stable frame rates. If a game has frame spikes, it's often terrible to play. There could be a 60 frames per second mode on PS5 for all we know. Yeah, I'm sure there will. Sony got a lot of backlash over 30 frames per second when the first trailer was shown last year. I wonder how much they'll have to sacrifice to get it though. Hopefully just lower resolution with some upscaling. Oh, come on, man. You can't tell me this don't look good. Hopefully it doesn't take much sacrifice to run performance mode. Miles Morales didn't take much, so I have hope. Some people care more about gameplay than just visuals. I was excited when they said gameplay demo, but was disappointed when it was written with cutscenes. Yeah, it was like a lot of stuff was cutscenes too. Like it was actually like gameplay, but even though still impressive, still very impressive. No use of denying this now. Denying this now. The game has CGI level graphics. It's outstanding how they can produce such graphics. PlayStation Studios are a generation ahead at this point, man. Miles being a generation behind in the FPS department. I kind of wish we had the specs for this game now, like what the specs is gonna be, because it is very concerning if this will be 30 frames per second. Ain't gonna lie though, I'll be playing the hell out of it when it hits. I think a lot of people have that same notion. Like even if it is 30, people are gonna play the hell out of this game. It looks phenomenal. Ratchet, Spidey, etc. all shown at 1080p 30, but we know it will have a 60 frames per second mode. But now open world are also bad. But Spider wasn't bad though. Make sure to bring the same energy after all the live streams at E3 are 1080p 30. I don't think you guys understand this was a live stream. I'm fine with 30 frames per second if the game is stable, but that genre of adventure games you're describing is indeed heading toward being overrepresented in today's world, especially on Sony platforms. I know you're trolling, but the game is fire. Me playing a Sony exclusive, 1 minute later eating popcorn because Sony games are like a movie. I get it. Horizon Zero Dawn equals more of the same. No reason for it to be next gen exclusive. I mean, that's kind of what you want in a sequel to, for it to be more of the same game that you love, but just improved upon it a little bit. Like I don't see a problem with that. They keep posting screenshots comparing it to Halo as well. They don't seem to like when I post PS5 screenshots of actual gameplay. Are they really comparing it to Halo Infinite? Really? I was like, we haven't really seen much of Halo Infinite besides like that one reveal thing. They haven't shown anything else about Halo Infinite, so that's kind of weird to do. Graphics wise, a 10. Okay. They could have just made a video and saved everyone's time. Wow. Okay. And even at 1080p and 30 frames per second looks better than that shown by Xbox in the last 2 years. 4K hit YouTube already. There was no confirmation that it isn't 60 frames per second. Stop capping. Already at 4K, so you have 4K 30, which is good. I'm calling it now. The PS5 this generation will be 1080p 60 frames per second, or upscale to 4K 30 gaming machine. Looks pretty fun. If it's $70, I'm going to riot. 30 frames per second. Yeah, like this was legit trending on Twitter, so this was a pretty big deal on social media, this 30 frames per second thing. So who knows? It's like we can only tell when it gets closer to this game being released what's the actual resolution and frame rate going to be, but yeah. Looks like an overrated 7 out of 10, like the first one. The desperation to cope, Xbox really are something. 30 frames per second is more cinematic. I'll laugh my ass off. Okay. Aloy got you dudes spooked. You scrambling right now. Is it confirmed 1080p? No, they upscale a 4K version of it. She looks. Wait, what? She looks like a female Ron Perlman. LOL. The first one was bad enough. It would be 60 frames per second. Whoa, I didn't want to see that image right there. It'll probably be fun as F, like the first one, which is sort of the entire point. Sounds like someone who never played Horizon Zero Dawn. It's 60 frames per second. They said Switch has a 30 frames per second limit, bozo. Tell me you're a hater without telling me you're a hater. Dang, you're telling me early footage of an unfinished, unreleased game is only 30 frames per second? Mind blown. Okay, stay mad. Yeah, so this is pretty funny. It's like, game looks phenomenal. Day one buy for me, but uh, we don't know if it's gonna be 30 frames per second or not. Like, who knows until we get to actually closer to the release date. So, definitely want to see your thoughts about this. Leave your comments down below. Leave a like if you like this video, and as always, thanks for watching, and peace.